Islamic banks face unique challenges with limited options to manage their money in a Sharia compliant way, putting them at a disadvantage compared to regular banks. We now have Dr. Giat Shabsig from the Islamic Financial Services Board to discuss this. Dr. Shabsig, what are the recent growth trends in Islamic banking within Asia?
Islamic banking assets across Asia have grown steadily over the recent years. We've seen in Southeast Asia and South Asia, the Islamic banking assets roughly around $400 billion and rising. We've seen also a growth in new markets, particularly in Central Asia and other smaller markets in the Philippines, in Thailand, and other regions. Of course, in this region, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Indonesia continue to lead the Islamic banking industry in these areas. But that is really driven by demand, and also is driven by what we've seen in a number of countries where the national initiative have been launched that incorporated Islamic banking and finance into the national development agenda, just to capture the investment and the opportunities that Islamic finance can bring to Asia.
Are there specific regulatory changes that are impacting Islamic banking within Asian markets?
Yes. Generally speaking, there are movement to strengthen regulation across all of Asia, at par with the regulatory reform globally. But also that applies on the Islamic banking, where there's a lot of movement toward adapting the regulations that are appropriate for Islamic banking, that capture the specificities of Islamic banking and finance. But also there are other forces that are moving the agenda forward on the regulatory side. This includes digitalization. There is, like in the conventional financial center, also Islamic banking is experiencing a boom on digitalization. But there are also other issues related to sustainability, green finance, and promoting financial inclusion, where Islamic banking and finance is really suited for these industry. And that is really driving the agenda in many countries, where Islamic finance can provide services for these countries, for these jurisdictions, in helping them with the sustainability and with promoting financial inclusions. There are also issues that, the very important issues that comes out in terms of compliance with international standards. In this case, the IFSB standards comes in place, because IFSB standards are regulatory standards that are acknowledged globally, and they complement conventional and traditional international banking and finance standards in areas where the international standards are silent. So it's very important to ensure in all of these jurisdictions where Islamic banking and finance operate a compliance with the IFSB standards.
So taking all these factors into consideration, what would you say are the main challenges faced by Islamic banks in Asia today?
I think a number of things. One is a little bit of lack of awareness, and that is really critical in many parts of Asia, of what Islamic banking is. Islamic banking can facilitate significant advancement in economic development and financial inclusions and sustainability. So that awareness is very important to be spread around. But also there are a regulatory gap in many jurisdictions that need to be addressed to allow Islamic banking to prosper. So legal issues that need to be addressed, the regulatory issues that need to be addressed. And these, in some areas, these are still at their early stages. But important also that we need really to foster international cooperation and knowledge sharing among the countries in Asia on how Islamic banking is applied. And at the IFSB, we do provide a lot of what we call it, peer experience sharing sessions, where different jurisdictions can share their experiences, and that and many jurisdictions found that extremely useful for their work on the Islamic banking agenda.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Shabsig.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Tess.
Once again, that was Dr. Giat Shabsig, Secretary General of Islamic Financial Services Board. For more news, visit AsianBankingandFinance.net.